Hey guys, it's Grace and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to be talking about how I prep and research a character before I have a role and start rehearsals. So I think this is something that isn't necessarily super talked about, but I think it's really important for especially new actors to understand that there is a lot of work that goes into researching and preparing a character before you even start the rehearsal process. Obviously, it's a lot easier to work on a character and work on a show if you do have it memorized. So I would say that the first thing that you want to do is start memorizing your lines. Try to memorize them as neutrally as you possibly can, so don't associate certain lines with the movement that you're doing or you know, a certain way that you say it, because it may change in the rehearsal process. Not it may, it will change in the rehearsal process, and you want to be able to still remember your lines and your monologues even when you are given notes. So I always start out with a clean slate, trying to memorize as neutrally as possible, and then once I do figure out the things that I want to try out in rehearsal, then I can always come back to my neutral basis when things do change, and I won't feel flustered or feel overwhelmed by the fact that someone's asking me to make a different choice. You would start doing that, and while you are doing that, obviously you want to read the play multiple times, because there is a lot of information that comes from not just your lines or the scenes that you're in, but how other characters talk about you, how you talk about yourself. All that information is very important to have. Starting out by researching the character in general and the history of the play, and figuring out what the given circumstances are. So given circumstances are things like the age of your character, how they relate to other people in the play and other characters in the play, what people say about them, what they say about themselves, and all that kind of stuff. It's the stuff that is concretely given to us in the play, that the playwright says, this is who this character is, this is what they're thinking, this is what they're saying, and this is what other people are thinking and saying about them. That's kind of the easy part, because you'll be given your age, you'll be given your family relationships, your relationships to other people. The time period of the play is also really important, because different things happen in different time periods, so there might be a political instance that happened during that time period that's going to affect your character or how you react to other people and the environment that you are in. So it's really important to know the time period of the play, and also know the time period that you may be playing it as. If you're doing a Shakespeare piece, it might not always be set in the time that that play was originally formulated in. So, for example, I did Much Ado About Nothing, and it was taking place in the early, like, 1910s, early to mid 1910s, so right before the 1920s. So there were a lot of aspects of culture at that time that I needed to be aware of in order to accurately portray my character as I fit into the play. That's something really, really important. Women were treated very differently in the past, you know, 100 years plus than they are now, so that's a really important aspect to know of whether you are a woman or not, how your character would treat women typically in that time, and whether they break from that or not, because they may break from it or they may stick to societal standards. But in order to determine whether your character does that or not, you need to know the societal standards of the time. Age is also going to play a huge factor in how you portray your character, especially if you are not the age that you are portraying. I played a 40-year-old woman in Beauty Queen of Lebanon, and although I took aspects of myself, I had to think about how someone that age moves differently from someone my age and how they sit differently. So, you know, today we kind of sit back here, that kind of stuff, if we're in our teens or our 20s, but someone who's in their 40s might not sit that way. So thinking about all those little intricacies, and if your character has a certain injury or something like that, that's also going to affect how they physicalize. Thinking about those aspects in relation to age as well is really important. Family is also really important to understand. Knowing who is your family or who may be a friend but is treated as your family, you're going to react to those people differently, and you have an already established relationship versus someone in the play that you may be meeting for the first time or you may not know as well. You're going to treat them differently as that character. Also, knowing how you feel about people is going to change how you as your character react to someone. And also knowing your character's personality traits or characteristics and how they normally react to other people, how they react to people they like, and how they react to people they dislike is also really important. Some of this comes from the given circumstances, but some of it will also come from your interpretation and how you feel the character reacts to people. Your objective, or what you want in the play, is also going to determine how you interact with other people and how your character is motivated as a whole. So really focusing in on what you want from other people around you and what your overall objective throughout the play is. I have another video about kind of what it given circumstances mean, what objectives mean, how to find your objectives. So if you'd like to check that out, you can. But yeah, figuring out what your objective is going to help you portray a character differently and prepare to portray a character differently than if you were to have a different objective. Here is something that is going to be only applicable to people who are playing a character that is really well known. So I played Sherlock Holmes as a female, but Sherlock Holmes is a really well-known character. There are books, original books about Sherlock Holmes, then there are TV series that are spin-offs, and multiple different plays about Sherlock that include Sherlock. So it's really your choice whether you want to heavily research that character or not. I personally knew what the basic character of Sherlock Holmes was and what Sherlock's basic traits and how he normally acts were, but I didn't do deep research into the TV show or the books or anything like that, because the play that I was doing was kind of separate from all that. It was a student-written piece, it was a murder mystery piece, so I wasn't Sherlock in the world of Sherlock, I was Sherlock in kind of a neutral space with a bunch of other people. That's really up to you. For me, I wanted to make the character my own, so I didn't want to do heavy research into what other people have done, because I felt like I personally then would have wanted to copy what they had done, and that's not what acting is about. You want to take even a well-known character and make it your own, because even though as an actor you are portraying someone else, you always have a piece of yourself in that character, and that's what makes everyone's interpretation of a certain character different. I think that's up to you, whatever you feel like benefits you more and is going to help you form your own character. If it's finding out what all the other Sherlocks are like and then taking some bits from them but forming it into your own character, you can do it that way. If it's knowing the vague essence of a well-known character and then making your own, you can do it that way. It's really up to you, but I think you have to remember that you're not making a carbon copy of this character, you're making this character your own. You also have to think about nationality. So this is kind of a little bit controversial, but obviously if you are African American, like, you should be playing an African American role. Someone who is white should not be playing a specified African American role. But if you are someone like me who played a role that my skin tone makes sense for, Maureen in Beauty Queen. Beauty Queen is an Irish play, so I had to know all of the Irish heritage and all of the Irish references that were in the play that I didn't understand and wouldn't understand as an American. I had to know all of them because my character would know all of them because they're Irish. So in that essence, you have to understand the culture and nationality of your character if they are different from your own. That's something that helps with you being able to translate the things you're saying to an audience who may not understand the culture, and it also is a respect piece for you should be able to accurately represent this culture if you are not an active member of that culture. You should do enough research to where you feel as though you can accurately represent it to the level that you can as someone who is not of that culture. Something else that is really important to research are words that you don't know, words that you don't understand, all that kind of stuff, references that may be made in the play that you may not know right now. And this is stuff that should all be done before the first rehearsal, because there's nothing worse, I can tell you, than being an actor who gets asked by a director, oh, what does that word mean? And you have no idea what it means. How are you going to portray to an audience what that word means if you yourself don't know what it means? It's just kind of common sense. But it's something that a lot of people forget to do or don't think about. So I think that's something that is also really important to research with a character. And then that's kind of it. Those are the things that you can find from the play or just from knowing who your character is, and then you make up the rest. So if there's something that isn't given to you by the playwright that you feel like you need to know as a character and need to research, you can add those things in as long as it makes sense with your objective and then who you are as a character that is rooted into the play. So you don't want to do anything that's going against the given circumstances of the play, but if it's not directly described in the play and you feel as though it fits your character, those are the choices that you're free to make and that are different for everyone. That's basically how I research and prep for a character, and then I go into rehearsal the first day, usually as a read-through, so you don't have to have everything necessarily figured out then, but I like to go through my script and have my objectives figured out beforehand and have my research done and have some ideas for how I want to play the character in rehearsal. Rehearsal is pointless if you have not already done the research and if you do not have an idea of the choices that you would like to try out, because that's what a rehearsal is. It's a trial and error process that allows you to see what works with the character and what doesn't. And maybe some of the things that you've researched will not be applicable, and maybe some of the things you will end up changing and won't be included in your final portrayal of the character. But it's really important to have a bunch of information, a bunch of options, so that you can feel like you are prepared to accurately represent the character. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. If you have any questions about this or anything to add, you can also comment that down below. And yeah, you can check out my previous video on this side of the screen and my previous vlog on that side of the screen. I hope you guys are staying sane in quarantine, and I wish you all of the good vibes and no sickness. And yeah, I will see you in my next video.